competition. Either rise or you fall. I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags, I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my fist, back in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I pray to God, he never came. I'ma do me, I'ma do me. That's in my blood, I'll never change. That's in my blood, I'll never change. That's in my blood, I'll never change.
Thanks for staying with us for the WSL Post Show. There is so much to talk about in what has been a huge emotional day with big performances as well, some inspired performances. Ronnie Blakey joined by Shannon Hughes and Richie Lovett. Are you all right, guys? Are we okay?
No.
No, it's a bit like that. Rich?
Yeah, I need therapy. It's been a huge day. It's just...
We're booking in.
I know. We've just been riding the roller coaster all day long. Not to mention what Mother Nature dished up for everybody. It was just a challenge from, you know, first light today, and what an amazing day of competition. Yeah, that was huge. I mean, sometimes I feel like here at Margaret River, you've got to go back and have a look at some slow-mos of some of those bigger rides, Shannon, to just get an idea, a scope of how big it actually is. But it was monster.
It was honestly so huge out there. Some of the sets rolling through just in the last two heats were unbelievable, like literal mountains. To then try and see the guys capitalize on it was a really crazy way to end a really crazy day. You think, Rich, I saw Frederico Morais, you know, in a heat where his CT spot was on the line. He jumped on the back of the ski, the Rebel ski, got dropped off in the channel. After getting dropped off on the ski, got cleaned up by sets, got pushed pretty much all the way in. And that's what they were dealing with, as well as having to chase down those big results. It was just a brutal day. I think that's the best word to sum it up. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the competitors coming in thinking, they were actually saying, you know, we thought it was solid 10 foot, but when they came in, they were like, it was solid 12 to 15 feet out there. We saw everyone scrambling for equipment that could handle these type of conditions. Boards getting pulled out of the closet that had been sitting in there for you know, up to 10 years. Jake Pato opened his garage. He had plenty of big shooters in there, and he was handing them out like lollies. Yeah, exactly. Well, there was a big performance, a lot on the line in that last heat of the day. Baron Mamiya looking to solidify a place in that final five. He's down there with Laura Enova.
Baron, last heat of the day. It's been a huge day of ups and downs, and you said you've just been watching it all at home and obviously coming down here. And yeah, talk us about getting out there so late and kind of having David get a bit lost, and you were saying that you almost thought you were lost as well. Yeah, it was really, really big when we got out there. Like, I think the biggest set of the day came in and looked like a third reefer. Yeah, David, good job. And yeah, like we just kind of got out there and we were like, oh no, like it's kind of big. And then David was sitting really, really far out, and I kind of thought I was sitting like on the inside, and there's sets coming in and he kept piling out, and I was like, oh no, like am I like way on the inside? And I thought I was gonna get pounded, and I kind of got lost for a second, and then I just was like, okay, like when I first got here, I just sat next to the boil. That's kind of where everyone was sitting, so I just looked for the boil the whole time I was out there trying to find it. But yeah, the waves were huge. I got caught by one pretty big set. It was definitely scary, and yeah, it definitely, I think, was the biggest it's been all day, was right before we went out there. And obviously coming from Sunset over here, you're just riding your favorite boards that you would usually ride at Sunset? Yeah, I rode a 6.2 in the heat. It felt really good. I just couldn't really get, like, my first wave was pretty good, and I never got really like a really solid another wave. But yeah, I have my 6.2, and then I have my Magic 6.3 that I won at Sunset with. I didn't ride it because it doesn't really like the bump that much. But yeah, I just rode basically the boards I ride at home. And keeping your stellar run going throughout the year, you are obviously looking for a spot in that final five, and obviously you'll be coming up against local boy Jack Robbo tomorrow, so that'll be an exciting one. Yeah, Jack got me at pipe at my home break, so I think I should try and get him one at his home break. Absolutely love it. We'll let you rest up. It's been a huge day down here, and yeah, congratulations, Baron, into the round of 16. Thank you so much.
Yeah, huge result for Baron, and you know, I can tell he's extremely elated. But Rich, he kind of validated what we were ramping up. You know, we weren't just making it up. It was big out there today, and for a guy that charges as hard as him to kind of back us up on that, it means a lot. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we saw this swell marching in a week ago. We saw the storm brewing, and we saw the numbers starting to really lay down in the forecast, and it was going to be big today no matter what. So it was a challenge. It was surfer against ocean, sometimes more so than surfer against surfer.
and, you know, many rose to the challenge. There was some great surfing on some huge conditions, and pleasure to watch it.
Yeah, and obviously so early in the event, we're seeing those surfers at the very end, top end of the ratings taking on those surfers below the cut line, and that was the case in heat number 5. We saw the current world number 2, Kanoa Igarashi, taking on Matthew McGillivray.
It was that matchup that we saw last year here as well, where Matt McGillivray got the upper hand on the more experienced Kanoa Igarashi. Kanoa came out really looking strong. He had, you know, started out with waves like this, really just putting that board on rail, putting some good progressive push in his turns and that variety, but the strength of the South African, he just couldn't be undone. And I think Matt right now, he's so freed up because he's got to go so far in the event that he may as well throw it all out there, and it's working to his advantage.
Yeah, well, maybe he doesn't have to go as far as what he initially thought now, because it's gotten pretty interesting and quite tight there just on the bubble. But Rich, he's an animal in these big open ocean waves.
It's something about Margaret River main break that Matty McGillivray, well, he just clicks. It's these bigger walls, these bigger lines that he draws. It smooths out his style a little bit more, just throwing the full Hail Mary at that final section. And, well, everyone thought that Kanoa was just going to do the job out here and get the win. And Kanoa even said in his post-heat interview, he didn't feel like he did a thing wrong. He felt like he wouldn't change anything, but he was just out-surfed today.
Yeah, well, the word came from the panel early on. You know, big individual turns, high-risk manoeuvres that were fully committed were going to score well, and that was the case for Matty. Dropped a big 7.6 for that individual turn. It was a Hail Mary, and he managed to reel it in.
Yeah, and, well, his job's not done yet. And the pressure that you were talking about, that he had maybe alleviated and just thought, oh, it's, you know, it's a fairy tale that maybe is not going to happen. Now it actually might happen. And
the pressure has arrived.
We'll see if that pressure builds overnight and what he can produce tomorrow.
Yeah, it might just be one heat win for him to get above that cut line. So we'll be watching that exchange really closely. He's going to be taking on Sammy Pupo. But let's have a look at heat number 9, because Nat Young had an opportunity in this heat, Shannon, to shore up his place above the cut line. He didn't waste it.
He did not put it to waste up against fellow Californian and Jake Marshall. And Nat really needed to hold strong. He had that pressure sitting on him going into this heat. He knew that it was really make it through and he's qualified, and lose out and he's gone. And he just strung together the most impressive heat that maybe we've seen from him in his championship tour career against the Encinitas local.
Yeah, and you know, at this point, Jake Marshall's thinking, oh my goodness, there's so many guys still to come that are lower than me, below the cut line. They're going to be making a charge. Now he might be okay, but at this point it was a battle to confirm your place on the CT.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you that you can't really get ahead of yourself because you can't control what anyone else is doing. But for me, this was the best backhand surfing of the day that Nat Young put down here, and just huge backhand hooks. Really, it was really spectacular to watch.
It was. Nat was just over the moon. I mean, there is a... You know, it's been a long road back to the CT for him, so the fear of missing this mid-year cut, I'm sure it was weighing heavy. But look at the scores. He stood up in a big way today.
Oh, an 8.93 backed up with a 7.17. That's a dream run out here to get an excellent heat at a wave like Margaret River, where it really takes that critical commitment to the outside section as well as knowing that inside section and laying it all down to get a result like that.
Yeah,
Stoked.
I think the crowd hit fever pitch. They maxed out the competitors' area down there. When Kelly Slater took on Jadson Andre today, Kelly just still drawing those big numbers, Rich, and he looked super focused and ready to lay down some big turns out here.
Yeah, always a crowd favourite, Kelly Slater, and the 50-year-old. But, well, Jadson started really strong and put a bit of pressure on Kelly with 2 scoring rides before Kelly had even stood up on the board. And you can just see, this is Jaddy's comfort zone, believe it or not, is being on the bubble, is being under pressure. And this is where he thrives. So if he does make his way back onto the tour, I think he just needs to go into every single heat thinking, I'm on the bubble, because he'll probably move up in the ratings.
Yeah, he was fortunate, Shannon, to connect with the by far the best wave of the heat in the early stages, and that did apply some pressure to Kelly. But he backed it up as well. Tactically, he surfed a really smart heat.
Yeah, great surfing from Jadson. Really proud of his performance. And, yeah, being on the bubble works in his favor without a doubt. And, I mean, another, tough one for Kelly Slater, finding in some really solid-looking waves, but just lacking in some areas.
Yeah, he stepped onto that old favourite, Rich. He dusted it off. 10 years old. He left it here yonks ago. And it didn't look unusual under his feet. He actually surfed it very well. But like we said, just didn't really find a clean wall to lay that thing into.
Yeah, I don't think it was the board choice that let him down at all. I just think it was perhaps wave choice that was the thing that did him in at the end. And as you said, there weren't a lot of quality waves in that heat. And Jadson picked the eyes out of it and surfed really well on the waves that he did have. So, you know, he deserved the win.
A heat that did have some high-quality waves in it was the battle between Jordy Smith and Ezekiel Lau. And we're going to bring up the Boost Mobile wave of the day. The wave was really one of the stars of this little performance. But Jordy Smith laid down the best carve that we've seen in the contest so far. It was such a big, tall wall.
Yeah, it was amazing and one of the bigger waves. And Jordy had the option here. He could have, well, his whole performance in this heat was just on point, just throwing down these massive rail carves. This was actually his second scoring ride where he just really opened up. You can see Jordy surfing with a lot of confidence, but it was that big wave where he could have potentially got up and high and into the barrel, perhaps got one of the tube rides of the event, but chose down the line speed and just threw down one of the biggest rail laying carbs that we've seen for the whole event so far.
Yeah, it's funny. The backup number was lower. The 9 got the score and the Boost Mobile wave of the day, but I actually like the 7-point ride better. I thought that's what we were going to see.
So did I.
But there is still so many highlights to break down. Also some lowlights for some of the tour surfers. We're going to have a look at the cut and look who's locked in a spot and who's fallen off tour after the break. Welcome back to the show. Plenty to talk about. There has been surfers that have stood up today and locked in their position above the cut line, and some that have fallen below. Plenty of emotion and just devastation on the face of our competitors today.
There has been a lot of tears shed, I will say that. It's been an emotional, just kind of watching each of these surfers soak in those moments, either that news that they have made the cut, or that news that them or their friends have not made the cut. There's been so much going down of friends having to knock out friends, and I think that's been one of the saddest things to experience today.
Yeah, a lot to process. There's some of that elation and big moments. A huge heat win for Jadson Andre, Ronnie Blakey with Shannon Hughes, and Richie Lovett. And it's time to get into it. Let's break it down.
Okay.
Let's see who has made the cut. And this is huge for a lot of surfers that have been on the bubble in the past. they've done the job. They've got themselves into the back half of this year, which obviously means they've also certified their position on the championship tour for 2023. And here are those competitors, and we're really looking at the back end of this list because we knew those guys in the first couple of rows were pretty well safe.
Yeah, we'll do the math quickly. 7 names per column, 3 columns, 21 surfers. That leaves 1 spot. But have a look there. Jake Marshall, Jackson Baker, and Jadson Andre just bringing up the rear, getting their position on tour, and the rest of the soldiers falling into place here. A good-looking list there. Still a bit of work to do, and I just can't. I'm sort of still trying to just take in the day and just how gnarly it's been. One of the most emotional days in surfing I've ever witnessed, for sure.
Yeah, it's huge. Let's have a look who is under the cut. This is, you know, really interesting to see. There's a few names there I didn't see staying below the cut line after event number 5, but there it is. I guess the big story is Lucca Mesinas and Ezekiel Lau. They came into this event in those last couple of spots, and they've been knocked out, even though they've got the same points. They've been knocked out by Owen Wright, who's currently on the live ladder, sitting in that 22nd spot. However, Matthew McGillivray still alive in the event, and he has a chance to overtake Owen if he makes the quarterfinals. So 1 more heat for Matty.
Unbelievable to know that Matthew McGillivray has a chance. He's going to be matched up in the round of 16 against Samuel Pupo. And it's an interesting one there because the season wild card for this year's WSL Tour, it went to Owen Wright, who was sitting 1 spot below Matty McGillivray. Owen Wright getting the call-up from the WSL. Matt then getting the injury replacements, both of them with the opportunities. And now it's coming down to those 2 surfers to who's going to take that 22nd spot. Matt could take it away from Owen.
So that's the only heat left to decide who is going to be above the cut line and who's going to fall off. It's going to be super intense to watch it. It's going to be super intense for Matty to surf it. But if he surfed the way that he did today, he's going to have a fantastic shot.
Yeah, I think he'll be thinking that he's got a good chance out here, knowing that he has had a good result here. He does his best surfing out here at Main Break. And the way the forecast is sort of panning out, we could have Bluebird Day tomorrow with 6 to 8 foot, maybe 10 foot waves and perfect offshore conditions. So he'll have a good night's sleep tonight, hopefully, and wake up ready to win.
Well, that heat is going to determine the big story around qualification for that back half of the year. But the story will then shift to the event win here at Margaret River. And the surfers in the first heat of the round of 16 are going to have a fantastic shot. And these two have surfed a couple of finals here against one another already. And it's going to be fireworks. John Florence, he's the best we've ever seen here at Main Break. And Kolohe Andino, he's not too far behind when you look at his results.
Oh, I mean, to know that these 2 have finaled out here back in 2019, it was also their most recent head-to-head matchup, so it's interesting that they haven't matched up outside of Margaret River in quite a while. And I mean, you got to believe the strength is all in John's court, but you never know. Kolohe can come out and surf the heat of a lifetime.
So many comparisons that were drawn early in their careers too when they both came on the tour. And, you know, well, John's gone ahead and got the world titles and put in the big performances and got the wins. And perhaps Kolohe just underperforming through these years. So maybe it's his time to just be motivated by that and go all the way.
USA's Olympic team just going all out against one another to try and claim a victory here at Margaret River. Another big heat that we're interested to watch is, of course, the heat with Felipe Toledo. He's kind of been pulling away from the pack, collecting big results on his road to that #1 position. He's got Nat Young.
Yeah, I really like this heat for a number of reasons. Obviously because Philippe's got the yellow jersey on and he's the former winner. But again, I feel like Nat Young did the best backhand surfing on the rights today. So if he can bring that form into tomorrow, then he's really going to push Toledo. But you could tell that Felipe actually went, okay, if I can get through today, being the big, gnarly, stormy day, the conditions might really, really suit him tomorrow and be very similar to when he won last year.
He wasn't at his best today, though, Felipe. He kind of looked hesitant. He avoided the end section a couple of times. We know it's in him. We know that he can give the big performance here if he has to, and he kind of survived the round of 32.
Yeah, well, we know that Nat Young had a very different approach to Felipe than on those finishing sections. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup, and we could see Nat Young taking down world #1.
Let's have a look at the women's semi-finals because unlike the men's, it was really the surfers below the cut line that really stood up and delivered in a big way, and a couple of them still have a shot at glory here and making the cut and getting into the back half of the year, and it's on the bottom side of the semi-final clashes. Bronzy McCauley needs to win this contest. Isabella Nichols, you know, she's got a little bit to think about. Just when Gabriella gets through, she'll have to then win the event. But it's going to be a big one. Courtney's obviously got the wins and the experience.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough one for Gabriella Bryan, too, because she has the pressure knowing she needs to make the final, first or second, to really solidify that position. And then Malia Manuel, she's just sitting somewhere, listening in and waiting to see how the rest of the day unfolds to know if she stays above that cut line.
Maybe just tuned out. She might have headphones on with music blaring and just like a, you know, an eye patches on or something. I don't know. I don't think she could watch it. It's it's too intense. The surf was massive today. The Surfline forecast predicted it. Let's have a look at what's to come for finals day, the last day of the event window tomorrow. It's all going to go down.
Yes, it is, and it's a pretty simple forecast. We've had the peak of the swell today, and overnight it's going to start tapering down, which is a good thing. I mean, it was gigantic today, but we don't need 2 gigantic days. And you can see, well, tomorrow's going to be offshore all day, so we couldn't have asked for a better wind. And we're going to have waves up in the 10 to 12 foot mark early on, and then it's going to taper off through the day. But there is going to be just the most contestable waves tomorrow. This is exactly what the surfers picture in their mind when they come to main break, and we're going to deliver.
It's going to be a good day.
All right, let's check out the top 5 for the day. There were so many highlights, so many big moments, and we'll kick it off with number 5, Matthew McGillivray. Full commitment in a high-pressure situation. This was a big buzzer-beater moment.
Massive. I mean, for him to hold composure and to just throw it together after linking in some really good waves, really finding some momentum with that heat, it was these in sections that he was going to really have to just put it all on the line, similar to surfing at home in Jeffreys Bay, going straight into the bricks, knowing you're risking your body, your fins, your board. And for him to then just take off on airdrops like that and throw the board up into a lip that was, you know, double the size of him. Unbelievable.
All his base jumping experience coming into play there and managed to land on his feet. It was a huge moment for him. You know, the conditions were quite slow there, so that was a last-ditch effort to really turn that heat. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for Kanoa in the final stages, but that has given Matty a shot now. With just he's one heat away from potentially getting himself above that cut line. Number 4, Samuel Pupo. This kid continues to impress, and he made a charge in the dying stages of his round 3 clash to make the round of 16.
Yeah, we've just seen a couple of buzzer beaters today, and as you said, Ron, this guy just continues to impress. He's sort of shutting out the doubters and the critics by just laying down some really solid power surfing in these big open ocean waves. This guy's also got the tricks. He's got the speed, the agility with which he surfs is sort of like Taj Burrow and Felipe Toledo. So he's starting to carve out a big future for himself on this tour.
It's awesome, and he's going to be on tour with his big bro as well. Nat Young at number 3, that backhand attack, we've missed it so much, and it looks like it's well and truly ready to light up main break again on finals day.
Oh, so dynamic. Love his commitment to just putting that board into the heavy sections of main break, and so impressed with that backhand attack. He'll be looking so good heading out against Felipe Toledo tomorrow.
The big dogs will come in at number 2, Jordy Smith and Ezekiel Lau. On paper, it was a heat we could really look forward to, and it really delivered once these guys hit the lineup.
Yeah, the Battle of the Titans, it didn't disappoint, but it was Jordy and that commitment to the rail and the power that got him home, picking some of the biggest and like more rideable waves that we saw today. Zeke, he fought back with some really solid surfing, just stomping on the tail, getting the big moves done on the big sections. But Jordy, he just took it to town on this last wave here, attacking the lip at a critical moment. The judges just eating up the commitment and completing the wave 2. That was a defining factor of today, making that final section.
Yeah, Ezekiel Lau heartbroken at the end of that one. Jordy Smith just looking like himself and really giving us his best today. But at number 1, it could be no other. Ethan Ewing's been in rare form this season, and he's brought that power, that finesse, and those beautiful rail turns here to main break.
That rail game is just, it is really out of this world. And now to watch him start to link those heats together to find the strategy. He only took off on 2 waves in this heat. It was a 9 and a near 9 and an 8.93. That was incredibly good, excellent heat surfing, Richie.
Yeah, he's getting into that habit, isn't he? Just only getting a couple of waves in a heat, but he's making every single one of them count. The thing that baffles me with this guy is just how much speed he gets in the transition between the turns. When his board's kind of flat, it's almost like he's a snowboarder or something, but just an amazing surfer. Got Jake Patterson, the local hero, in his corner there, and got the good vibes flowing.
Yeah, I always felt that Ethan had the potential with his surfing to potentially sway the criteria back towards rail surfing. The variation that he has still has that explosive unpredictability in his surfing, but he's been dropping big numbers throughout the season, and he's starting to look like a CT event winner. It could happen for him tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's starting to look like a top 5 surfer, and if he keeps surfing like that, he's going to well and truly be in that final 5 come September.
It's going to be awesome. Shannon, final thoughts for the day. How do you think the women are feeling after watching everything unfold today, those semi-finalists?
Yeah, I ran into Gabriella Bryan down here. They were checking out some of the action, really getting a feeling for what was going down in the ocean today as well, just studying things, knowing that there's still going to be some size, some power out there tomorrow, a little better conditions on offer, and I think they are going to be gunning for whatever there is available.
It's going to be unreal. Well, don't tune in tomorrow for a call. Tune in for finals day. It's going to be kicking off at 7 a.m. local time. We'll leave you with today's highlights and check you out for a huge day of competition tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. See you then. As you can see, our competitors getting set on what is the second last day of the event window.
Here goes John. John just lays on the hillside rail.
Nobody does it better. Stylish swoop there.
Absolute clinic here. If you hit this thing late, that foam is just going to swallow you up.
Final section count. Drives up into it.
Callum, he just loves the big stuff.
This will be a tough blow for Morgan Cibilic.
Back to the Challenger Series.
There is going to be a lot of drama today, that's for sure.
You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time.
Connor has not made the cut.
You down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
He was just on his tippy toes making that drop. And it's about being calm in the chaos.
And he goes up for a huge hit. He pulls it off, throws the flame. Samuel Pupo with all the emotion releasing.
It's that right hand jab. It's a TKO. Look at his board, it cavitates.
We run the town, run the street them too. Best look if we come through. All of the man, they're ready for war. You can never test my crew. Rise to the top, we live in the dream. We can't believe we so focused. I smell victory, don't approach us.
So the victors go the spoils. It's just how it is.
Look at the power on the backhand, just leaning right on the heels.
Kind of like a tradesman style approach. And his opponent has not been able to go with him.
Just that Andy Iron style.
And he'll love the feel of that.
Giant wave.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.